So, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you all are doing well. We will be picking up where we left up yesterday. So, before starting today's video, I would like to point out a few things and give a quick recap of what we have done so far. We saw one error in the last video, that was assertion error. This one, to do not found in the installed work successfully. Congratulations. So basically we were saying that in browser.title we didn't find to do. This was the error that we were seeing last time. So before resolving that, I would like to give a quick recap of what we did so far. We wrote a functional test which should run the basic login and logout for the to-do list app, which we did using .get after instantiating the instantiating the browser. Then we use the .get function. After the successful execution of test, we used .quit. Yeah, and then we also use one API which was self.fail, which was doing nothing but intentionally making the test fail. So that's all we did in the last video. Remember, user story, as I said in the last video, it is a description of how application should work or will work from the point of view of the user. It is basically writing the story first and then writing the function depending on the story. Also, it's good to have expected failure. Not as good as passing the test, but it's good to have expected failure, because expected failure means when a test fails in a way that we expect to get the error that we are getting right now. The assertion error is to do not found in the title. So this is an expected failure because we didn't change the title of our application that we were building using Django. So that's an expected error. Now we will try to solve this error. One important thing to note in Django is that it encourages you to structure your code into apps. Now you would ask, why are you throwing more jargons at us? So I'll explain. Don't worry. The theory is that one project can have many apps. You can use third party apps developed by other people like Google, etc. And you might even reuse your own app which you used in one of your different projects. So basically, app means that you are dividing your project into different functionality. And for every functionality, you are having a different app. Let's say you visit a car showroom. So for buying and selling, you have different application for buying and then different application for selling. Similar way, you can divide your project into various functionalities and have apps for them individually. So let's start an app for our to-do list by using this command python 3 manage.py start app lists. Yeah, so this one is created. Now you can see there is one more folder under super list, which is basically lists, because we have created an app called lists. And if you open that particular folder, you could see various files like init.py, admin.py, apps.py, models.py, test.py, views.py. Don't worry about them, as like you just don't have to worry what exactly these mean. We will get into it later. Now you could ask why you have created a list app. That's because we are going to create our main to-do list in this app only. We are basically creating an application for our list functionality for our homepage. Before getting further, let's understand the difference between unit test and functional test. In layman language, you can say that functional test test the application from the outside, from the point of view of a user, and unit test the application from inside, that is from the point of view of the developer or a programmer. In the TDD approach, both type of tests are covered in our application. The workflow will look like, firstly, we will start by writing a functional test describing the new functionality from user's point of view that we have written. We have written the user story. We will convert it into functions later, but in a way we have written the functional test. And once the test fails, that it has now, we will start to think about how to write code that it can get it to pass. Now we can use one or more unit tests to define how we want our code to behave. The idea is that each line of production code we write should be tested by at least one of our unit tests. So till now we have written one functional test which is failing, and we know like we have to change our code to make the functional test pass. Now what we will do is we will write unit test to show how our code should behave. Then using those unit tests we will change our production code so that the functionality the functional test and unit test both run fine. So once we have failing unit test, we write the smallest amount of application code. Remember, once the unit test fail, you write just the smallest amount of code, so that which is enough to get the unit test to pass. Now you can repeat the steps 2 and 3, like the first one, the second one, writing the unit test. The third one, writing the minimum required application code. Now after these iterations are completed, we can rerun our functional test and see if they pass or get a little further. So maybe now you would be able to get an idea why we were doing what we have done so far. Sometimes you may feel that there is not much difference between functional tests and unit tests, but they have different objectives and will usually end up looking quite different. So let's write our first unit test for our home page view. Now you could ask, what's a home page view? Home page view is basically the view that the view, if you just log in into the home page, you could see a to do, like let's say an input box is there or something like that. So we will write the unit test for that particular thing. So open up new file, which is this lists slash test.py. So you will see something like this from Django.test import test case. Test case is nothing but an augmented version of standard unit test.test case that we were using so far. This one, unit test.test case. Okay, this is the augmented version of this with some of the additional functionality of Django specific additional functionalities. We already know that test driven development cycle involves starting with a test that fails and then making the changes in the code. So before going into that details, we want to ensure that our unit test is getting executed by a test runner. For that, we will write a silly test which we will make it fail deliberately. So we will write a simple test which is, let's say, ran test, which is random test, and it is inheriting test case. Okay, so let's write one function, test underscore calculate. I'll tell what this is doing. Self dot result equal, okay, yeah, 1 plus 1 comma 3. So we are deliberately writing we can say a test which will fail for sure. So let's run this test. Python 3 manage.py test. Yeah, you can see the expected error. Also, one thing to note here is that we have just one app for now. So Python manage.py test, this will run for just one app because we have just one list app. Let's say we have more than one app. In that case, we have to write the name of the app that we want to test. Let's say I have two apps, lists and you can say users. So if I want to test the users, I have to write users. If I want to test the list, I have to write list. Else by default it will test both of the apps or all the apps that are present in that particular project. So let's see the error now. This is, as I mentioned, it's an expected error, so bravo. So as with any web server, Django's main job is to decide what to do when a user asks for a particular URL on our site. Let's say we have an HTTP request that comes in for a particular URL, then Django will use some rules to decide which view function should deal with the request, and this is referred to as resolving the URL. don't worry if you didn't understand. So basically what we have is we have a server, which is user server. It gives one request to our Django application, which is the backend of our main application. So what does this mean? This means that let's say we have one user and it sends a request that I want this particular data, or I want to give this particular data to you, or I want something from you, I want to log in. This is the request. This is basically called an HTTP request, which we are sending to Django server. Now what Django server will do is it will use some protocols, you can say, or you can say some rules to decide which view function should deal with this request, and this is referred to as resolving the URL, because for every HTTP request you will have some URL. As I mentioned in the last video as well, we get a unique URL, and for every URL you will have a view function. Now what the view function does, the view function processes the request and returns an HTTP response. So view function will process the HTTP request, and then it will return to, you can say, Django server, and then it will basically return us an HTTP, this view function will return an HTTP response. Okay, yeah. So here the view plays the role of a controller for our server. Don't worry if you don't understand what the controller means. I'll try to create one individual video on what controller view template means in case of Django, and what is model view controller. Don't worry, don't get overwhelmed by these jargons. I'll explain in one different in one individual video. Else you can Google, you can easily find what does this mean. Okay, so coming back to our basic unit test. So we want to test two things now. Can we resolve the URL for the root of our site? As I mentioned, the main role of Django server is to resolve the URLs. So can we do that to a particular function that we have made? Can we do that for our home page? And can we make this view function somehow return HTML, which will get the functional test to pass? The main aim is to pass the functional test, and for that we want to return something. We want our view function to return something so that the functional test passes. So let's start with the first one. The can we resolve the URL for the root so that the particular function, can we resolve the URL to make, so that we can resolve the URL? Can we create a function, a view function, so that we can resolve our URL? Okay, so first of all, we will change our silly test to something like this. Yeah, we will use class hPageTest, which basically tests if we can resolve the URL of our home page to something that will help us resolve our functional test in future. Don't worry, I'll explain it again. So what basically we are doing is we are trying to resolve the URL of our home page so that there is one view function to which our URL will go. We are just basically creating one URL mapping which will map from our URL, homepage URL, to view function. That's all. Okay, so it will again inherit from the test case class. Yeah, so now we have root. Sorry, we have to start with test. You know why? URL and then results. You already know why to start with tests. Views self. Okay, so I'll just write it first, then I'll explain why I'm writing this. Resolve. Okay, yeah, we have not imported resolve. Okay, don't worry, we'll do it. Self is equals to result equal yeah, I think some of these things are missing. Just give me a moment. Yeah, some of the stuff is missing. Yeah, we didn't import URL first thing, so we will do Django dot urls import resolve, because we want to resolve our urls, and also from you want our hazard, right? So you remember from where we were getting hazard. I would urge you to stop the video and think from where we were, like from where we were importing the hazard. Okay. Yeah, so this was not the error. I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah, one thing that I did made a mistake was asking for where to from where to import. Actually, it was the equal to which was giving the error. I'm sorry for that. And apart from that, we have to import the resolve, because resolve is a Django specific function which helps us resolve the URLs. Okay, so I'm extremely sorry for that, the above one. So yeah, resolve is the function that Django uses internally to resolve the URLs and find what view function they should map to. Here we are checking that URL, like that resolve when called with slash the root of our site. This one, when the resolve gets called with this particular argument, the root of our site finds a function called home underscore page, and this function is a view function, and this will return the HTML we want. And we will add one more import command, this one. This means that we are importing home page from our list.views. So what basically we are doing is we wrote a basic test which will try to resolve the URL. If the user asks for this particular URL, it should resolve to one view function, and this view function should be home page. Like, okay, yeah. So let's run it again and see what we get. Oh, okay. It's error. Server is still running. What's the error? Start app. Oh, it's not start. It should not be start app. Should be this. That was just click error. Don't worry. Yeah. So now you get this. What this means is, uh, you you are the Python is not able to import home page from list.views. Okay, so this is predictable but quite uninteresting, because we tried to import something we have not written yet, but still good, because expected failure. So let's create our view function. Now open list views.py. I would urge you to think what could be the basic function we could write, and so that it runs and we have to write the smallest application code. So I'll write none. You would laugh at me. Seriously, you would laugh at me. Oh, bro, what you have written? You have just declared a variable or function, you can say, with none. Don't worry, it's not a joke. I am serious that I wrote it. Let's run the test again. So this is the error we are getting, and after getting into a little detail, you could see the Django is not able to resolve this particular URL. So what we are getting is 404 resolve error. Okay, now this means that our Django can't find a URL map for this particular path. So let's solve this. Now we have to create a URL mapping for our project. Django by default uses urls.py. there is main urls.py for the whole website in the super list. In the main folder, I mean the subfolder super list, we have urls.py, and this particular file like keep stores the mapping, URL mapping. Now let's take a look. We will get rid of this particular admin one because mostly we won't be using the admin side, and you add our URL. I'll just copy paste it below and do the required changes. So what are we going to do? We are just getting nothing but this particular URL. Okay, now we will change it to views dot homepage. Why? Because we want our this particular URL. That's nothing because slash is like you are referring to the homepage itself, so there is no need to do that particular add that particular slash. So yeah, now we will add this. We have added the view function. We will add one name. That's not compulsory at all, trust me. Name equal home. Okay, yeah, now you could see we are getting one error, which is import the views. So which means from list.views we have to import views. There is the warning is gone. So let's run it again. Again error. Let's see what's the issue. Let's list dot views. Just a sec, might be importing it wrong. Views is not defined. Okay, give me a moment. I think I'm doing something wrong here. You can skip it a little till the moment I have resolved this error. Yeah, I think from this we have to import the views. Now it should work because we are not importing a particular function but the whole view function file. Yeah, that's fine. Now we are getting a different error, which is view must be a callable or list tuple. Now it's the time to change our none to something else because it's showing that the view must be callable. Okay, so this is again an expected error, and now we have to resolve it. Yeah, so back to this views.py, and we'll just do again the bare minimum change that we have to do. Pass. Let's run it again. Yay, we were able to run it, but there was one error. Wait, okay, I think we have to remove this because this was the bare minimum. Yeah, now it's running fine. Actually this is the space I added. Actually that means that after the home page we are adding the space, but we were just referring to the home page or the root page. That's why the error was there. It's gone. So now our test passed, but we still have not resolved the error in the functional test that we faced. So let's write a unit test so that we could try to solve the error in functional test. Again back to list test.py. So now we will write the basic test we need to write so that we could resolve the error in the functional test. What we would do is we would check. Wait, I'll write the code first, then tell you. Def test home page returns correct HTML. The name of the method is self-explanatory, but still I'll explain, don't worry. Request equal HTTP request, okay, and response equal response home page request. Don't worry, I'll explain everything. HTML equal response dot content dot decode and then UTF-8. Okay, and now you're getting this warning. So we will import the HTTP request. Yeah, so what we will do is, for importing that, we need to import Zango dot HTTP import HTTP request. So this is one of the way you could check what to import and what to not. You could just simply write the code and then check what is there and what is not there. So this is one of the way. I use it sometimes. So HTML, we already got the HTML. Now we will do the assertions to check. Assert true, HTML dot starts with HTML. We need to check whether we are getting HTML as a response, and self dot assert in if we have the title that we wanted, it was there in the functional test, to do lists title in the HTML. Oops. Now at last we want it to have the ending tag. We are checking bare minimum that we need for our HTML to work fine. It should have closing tag. So I'll explain what I just wrote. So this means that basically we are writing one particular function or method to check if our response that we are getting from our view function is returning correct HTML or not. So what this means, what this is so this is actually HTTP request object is what Django will see. It will see what Django will see when a user's browser asks for a page. So I explained it earlier as well. So when user's server asks for a server or browser asks for a request, it goes to the Django server and we pass that request to our homepage view or any view function that the URL mapping passes to, like URL mapping maps to. So after that we will get a response from that particular view function, and response is just an instance of HTTP response class. We will get into detail in that as well. So basically what that means is we are getting an instance of HTTP response class. Okay, so then we will extract the content. Here we are extracting the content and then decoding it, because the response that we are getting, the content of that is in raw bytes and which has zeros and ones, and which will be sent to user's browser, and we call by using decode function we are converting it into HTML string. Let's run it again and see what error we are getting. Yeah, we are getting this because we created home page with this without any argument. Now let's just do the bare minimum as we were doing always. Now different error, none type object. this particular response that we are getting, we are basically returning nothing, so it has no attribute content. So now we will do the bare minimum again. As I was mentioning, uh, the response is just an instance of http response. We need to import that as well, so I'll import it from django.http import http response. Yeah, do this again. So false is not true. Good, huh? This is because we were returning empty, like empty response. There was no HTML. So let's do the bare minimum again and try to resolve the first assert true command, like the assertion. So just return HTML. Now let's run. Yeah, this not found. We are not able to find this now. Again, do the same. I would urge you to pause the video here and try to solve the coming errors by your own, because by what I have taught so far, you would be able to solve it. But still, if you feel it overwhelming, you could continue. Yeah. So now I'll just return again the bare minimum. Okay. Now what's the error? Just a second. Certain it should work fine now. Because to-do list, we are returning the bare minimum that was required. To-do lists. Let's see. What's happening? Okay, so there should be one error. It's running fine. Why? There should be one error because we have not added the third one yet. I'll just clear and run it again. Sorry. It should actually throw an error. I'll look into it. Actually, it should throw error that it doesn't end with this, and then we have to return this. I'll look into it and then put it in the comment why I was not able to get this particular error. Yeah, then it will run fine. Okay, yeah. So now let's run our functional test. I'll do reverse search. Sorry, Control R. Functional test. Yeah. I'll run this now. Yeah, the expected failure again. Finish the test. Okay, so it's successful now. We were able to resolve the error that we were getting in the last video. There is one thing that I have to check why we were not getting error in this particular case, because we wrote this should fail, like when I'm not returning it, this should fail. Oh, I have not added an sorry. Yeah, now I got why I was getting. I have not added this. If any one of you was able to find it earlier, just put it in the comment. I was able to find. So that's great if you were able to find. Yeah. Now if I don't return this, we should get an error. Yeah, false is not true. So just do the command set. Now it's a run. Fine. Yeah. So let's do a quick recap. Last time the error we saw in the functional test, in this video we tried to resolve that. For that we started writing unit test, and then we did learn about a little about urls, what urls are, what urls.py is doing, what views.py is doing, what view function is, sorry, what template means, that we will get into it later. So that's all for this video. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please like, share and subscribe. Also, if you did find any difficulty, if the pace was too much or pace was very slow, just let me know. Any doubts, from silly to advanced or difficult, just post it in the comments. I will ensure that I will reply to every single message, and I promise I will. So that's all for this video. See you in the next video. Till then, keep coding, keep growing. Thank you.